In this video, I'm going to briefly go over the force of friction. To calculate the force of friction, it's very important to first figure out the normal force. Keep in mind that the normal force is the force that the surface exerts on the object in response to the force that the object is exerting on the surface. Now, if the surface is exerting a very strong force on the object, that means the surface is pressing against the object with a very strong, powerful force, then that means there's going to be a lot of friction. If the surface is exerting a very weak force against the object, then there's going to be less friction. So that normal force, the force with which the surface presses against the object, is very important. In the previous video, I showed you different scenarios in which you can calculate the normal force and how the normal force changes as the scenario changes. You got to keep in mind is to calculate the force of friction, you got to know the normal force, because the normal force is going to tell you how much the surface is pressing against the object. The other thing you need to know to calculate the force of friction is the coefficient of friction. The coefficient of friction is a number between 0 and 1. It tells you how rough or smooth the surface is, and it depends on the material the surface is made out of. So when you have a very smooth tabletop, then the force of friction is going to be a number closer to 0. It's a unitless number, has no unit, and if it's a very smooth surface, then the coefficient of friction is going to be closer to 0. It's going to be like 0.1, 0.15, 0.2. But if it gets to be a rougher surface, like sandpaper or gravel, then the coefficient of friction increases and it gets closer to 1, 0.8, 0.85, 0.9. So you do need to know the coefficient of friction, which tells you about the material you're sliding on, and then you need to know the normal force. You also have to keep in mind that you have two types of friction that we're going to be discussing in class. You have static coefficient and kinetic coefficient, and static coefficient, of course, goes with static friction, and kinetic coefficient of friction goes with kinetic friction. You also have rolling friction, and you have a rolling coefficient. For your static coefficient, that just means when the object's at rest. So when you pull an object, so for example, in this particular case, you're pulling to the right with a force F subscript A, Fa for applied force. You pull it to the right, and if the object doesn't move, that means then the static friction towards the left is strong enough to overpower your force towards the right, so the object won't move. So then you exert a greater force. And if the object still doesn't move, then you exert an even greater force. And finally, when the object starts to move, that means you've reached the point where you have overpowered the maximum static friction that the surface was exerting on the object. So when it comes to static friction, it's not a set number. It's actually a number between 0 to its maximum value, and its maximum value is achieved right before the object starts to move. So the object's at rest, you keep exerting a force, the object doesn't move. That means the static friction is strong enough to fight against you and prevent the applied force from causing the object to move. Then you exert a greater applied force and an even greater applied force. Finally, there'll come a point when the object will break free and start moving. That'll tell you, at that particular point, it will tell you what was the maximum static friction that you had to break for the object to start moving. And to calculate static friction, you will be given the static coefficient of friction. And the static coefficient of friction is always greater than the kinetic coefficient of friction. Just like the static frictional force is greater than the kinetic frictional force. And by kinetic, some teachers call it kinetic, some people call it sliding friction. It's when the object is actually not at rest, but finally it started to move. So once the object breaks free and starts sliding to the right, then you switch from static friction to kinetic friction. Then you switch from static coefficient of friction to the kinetic coefficient of friction. And the kinetic coefficient of friction is always less than the static coefficient of friction because there's less friction between the surface and the object once the object starts to move compared to when the object was at rest. When the object was at rest, there's more friction between the surface and the object than when the object starts to move. And you'll notice this if you're pushing a piano. When the piano isn't moving, you've got to exert a lot of force to get it to move, but once it starts moving, it's easier to keep it moving. So the static frictional force will always be greater, just like the static coefficient of friction will always be greater than the kinetic coefficient of friction. And the kinetic coefficient of friction is used when you're calculating the kinetic frictional force, and that is used when the object is sliding on the surface, and that's why it's sometimes referred to as sliding friction, or the sliding frictional force, or the sliding coefficient of friction. But when the object's at rest, you refer to it as static frictional force is what's fighting against you when you start pulling on it. So in this case, if you're pulling to the right and the object doesn't move, then the static frictional force is preventing you from moving. And there's a static coefficient of friction that you have to take into account to calculate that static frictional force. And remember, the frictional force always opposes motion. And of course, if there is no FA, if you weren't pulling towards the right, then there wouldn't be any friction. So if this object was just at rest and it wasn't being pulled to the right the way it is in the drawing, then the static frictional force would be 0. But then when you start applying an FA, then the static frictional force increases. It tries to fight against you. It tries to match the force you're exerting to the right. And then of course finally you'll come to a point where FA is going to be greater, or it's going to be strong enough to break the object free, and then the object will start sliding. So at that brief moment when it starts to break away, that's when you've reached the maximum static frictional force that the surface can exert on the object, and the surface can't exert any more. That's why that's the maximum. And then finally, if you exert an FA, an applied force greater than the static frictional force, the object starts sliding to the right. And keep in mind, once it starts sliding to the right, it switches from static friction to kinetic friction. And kinetic friction is less than static friction. So if you were ever given a graph to draw, you would notice that the graph would be increasing. If you had force on the y-axis, you would notice that static friction would keep increasing, and finally once the object breaks free, the graph plummets and then it plateaus out into a flat line, because the kinetic friction stays the same value throughout the object's motion while it slides on the surface. But the static friction increases from 0 to a maximum value. And you'd notice on a graph, if on the y-axis you were plotting force of friction, the static friction would increase, and then when you break away from the surface, then the static friction drops, well, because you've reached its maximum point, and then you switch to kinetic friction, so the graph would then plateau out. But that's the difference between kinetic and static friction. In either case, you have to take into account the normal force and the coefficient of friction to calculate the force of friction. The normal force, remember, tells you how much force is the surface pressing against the box.